Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
FunBelt Podcast.
FunBelt Podcast.
FunBelt Podcast.
FunBelt Podcast.
It's just a great conference that is at a point right now where I think clearly the best group of five conference in the country.
The state of Sunbelt football is the strongest in our history.
And we got to continue to showcase what our league is about.
This league is insane.
Yeah, it might be like one of those 8 wonders of the world.
And you can see just what a great group of five conference it really is.
It's a big deal.
Boy, life is looking pretty good in the Sunbelt these days.
So they're making me lead us into this episode of the FunBelt Podcast because Jeremy's a coward, I think is the main thing. Didn't want to do it. But
I thought he was too drunk.
Yeah. But we got a lot. We've got plenty to talk about this week, even though it seems like half the conference is on a bye week. I don't know if that's entirely accurate, but it seems like all the coaches were talking about that on Mondays, like what they were doing on their bye week. But it does look like we do have a few games to talk about, and we definitely have some stuff to talk about that happened over the weekend. Guys, where do we start?
Well, we could start with all right, so here's something I put out on the internet a couple days ago. Not really expecting it to get much play, but I wondered who was the front runner for the Sunbelt Coach of the Year, because you can pick any number of guys. There seems to be maybe 6 or 7 guys you could pick. And it became something like something that people really wanted to discuss. And I was going to throw it to you guys. Who do you think is the Coach of the Year so far?
I think without a doubt, the Coach of the Year so far, Clay Helton, Georgia Southern.
That's who I picked, yes.
Because I think that there were so many questions going into the season of what the Eagles were going to look like. What were they going to be able to do in his first year, knowing that the offense was completely changing? There was some, personnel change as well. You had a brand new quarterback coming in, not knowing what exactly he was going to be able to do. Just so many questions that you did not expect the Eagles to be the Georgia Southern of old. I think kind of the 1B of that would be Curt Cignetti of JMU. More so that we just had no clue what JMU was going to do. Were they going to stink it up as an FCS upgrade to FBS, or were they going to continue their role of domination?
Not only did Cignetti surprise everybody with coming out and playing strong football, but thus far the only Sunbelt team that cracked the AP Top 25. So how could you not reward Cignetti? But yeah, I have to agree with you that Helton right now is my front runner, simply because one, they're picking up great wins, but two, they've adopted this totally brand new system in Statesboro that they had never tried before. I was looking at this year as an experimental year. They've already proven it into law. Shane, what do you think?
Yeah, Georgia Southern's ahead of where I thought they were going to be. I mean, I thought that was a good hire, but I didn't expect them to have things running so smoothly this soon. I mean, the only thing I would argue about with Dusty is without a doubt part of what he said, because I think there's several guys who have been excellent this year. I mean, you talked about Cignetti. I mean, JMU fans are a little bit down on him now after 2 straight losses and some play calling and stuff, but that happens. But then, John Sumrall, he's got to be in the conversation
Absolutely.
too. Right now, Troy looks like maybe the best team in the conference, first-year coach. And I don't know if he deserves to win or even get votes, but I think he deserves to be mentioned. Will Hall, Southern Miss has a winning record right now, and they've been dealt unbelievably bad luck over the past couple of years, and they are making a lot of progress as a program. It's a well-coached league right now.
Also, guys first of all, yes, those guys are all worthy of consideration. Also, guys you might consider, Ricky Ronnie of Old Dominion. You might consider, who else? Maybe not DiGiorno, not yet. But who else, Dusty? Who else deserves to be in that discussion?
I'm a big fan of the governor at South Alabama.
That's right.
But I would not put him up for that award for the sole reason of the UCLA game. Sole reason.
And also, we kind of expected big things from Kane, right? His time to win that award would have been last year, and he couldn't quite close escrow. So we kind of expected he's kind of doing the job that we expect him to do. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, the 2 losses, less than a score. I mean, a 4-point loss this past week to Troy. I think what was the final? A 2 or 3 point loss there to the UCLA in that game. Just not. I think that UCLA game, I still just can't get over it. Sorry, we could even be talking preseason next year, and I'm probably still going to bring up the UCLA game.
Well, speaking of South Alabama, Dusty, I thought South Alabama and Troy on the Thursday night game, the Battle of the Belt, I thought they put on a master class of defense. I mean, the Sun Belt has for years been known as the Fun Belt because of what a lot of national journalists will kind of dismissively say is the Sun Belt is sort of all offense, all accelerator and no break. And they say it in a way that's kind of cute, like, oh, we're just not good enough even to play defense. It's all offense in the Sun Belt. But South Alabama and Troy proved on Thursday night, national audience, that defense is king in the Sun Belt. What do you think about that performance, Tibbs?
I thought it was a great game. I thought that the offense of Troy did just enough to get the win, and that's why they were able to get that 4-point victory. It was all defense. I mean, that was one of those classic. You could have almost seen that it was going to be like a 2-0 type of game, almost like we're back on the gridiron there at Stanky Field instead of the Wit. But it was true, I guess, new generation Sunbelt football of really having that balance where there was just enough offense and just enough defense to make it interesting.
Yeah, I looked at that. I'm sorry, Shane, but I looked at that as the maturity of the conference. What were you going to say, Shane?
You're talking about the Fun Belt reputation of a couple of years ago. It was only a couple of weeks ago we were talking about how everybody had an awesome quarterback and the offenses were so great. And we were talking about those two teams too. I mean, we were talking about those teams, and then they go out and have a 10-6 game, and JMU and Marshall play a defensive game. I mean, There were some injuries involved in that, but it definitely does seem to be shifting a little bit, especially as the coaches get to know their opponents a little bit. And
yeah, and I think that was kind of why I didn't embrace that Fun Belt moniker so much, guys, was because it felt to me like it was being applied to the Sun Belt as if to say, oh, offense is fun. Ha, ha, ha. These guys can't recruit enough players to feel the defense either. That's how I took it. Now, I might have taken it wrong. I can have a chip on my shoulder when it comes to the Sun Belt. But that's how I looked at it, and that's why I like that game so much. But, Shane, I got to ask you a big question, and I want an at-length answer, and I want you to hold nothing back. Okay. Has the Sun Belt caught up with the Dukes?
The injuries have caught up with the Dukes, I think, is a big thing. I mean, obviously, teams are coming up with different kinds of game plans against JMU at this point, too, especially Georgia Southern. But JMU was missing so many good players on Saturday. I think that was the major factor. And it started – Noah and I actually argued about this a little bit. I think from what they've said, Todd Centeio was obviously able to play, and he put up a ton of yards, but I think was probably not quite himself against Georgia Southern before this injury kept him out against Marshall. Noah thinks that probably didn't affect him too much against Georgia Southern, and we'll never know. But I think JMU could, at the very least, would be 6-1 right now with with some pretty impressive wins if they were healthy. But they're not, and this is also part of what everybody talked about with the transition and depth and everything else, and you're seeing a little bit of it.
So, what Tibbs? Let's just punt it back to you. Do you think the Sun Belt has caught up, Or is it simply like or maybe it's just that the Sun Belt, anybody can get beat in the Sun Belt.
I think anybody can beat anybody any given weekend, and we've seen that. I mean, Marshall was, yes, they had the Notre Dame win, but what have they done since then?
Nothing.
And yet they go in to James Madison's house and really dominate that game with the 26-12 win. So I don't know if it's necessarily the Dukes were on a pedestal. I think that they were, at least with that initial 6-0 record that they had, or 5-0 record that they had. And injuries, fatigue, grind of the season, and everything else is just kind of allowed everyone else to take advantage of them. But I mean, it's no different than any other season that we would see. I don't think it has anything to do with their transition or anything like that. I think it's just the grind of the season.
Yeah, I think. Go ahead.
I was going to say, Billy Atkins did not play a good game, the backup quarterback getting his first start. But I do think they found out Thursday late that Centeio might not be available, and didn't find out until an hour before the game that he wouldn't be available at all. And you can't run a Todd Centeio game plan with Billy Atkins. They're just completely different kinds of quarterbacks. And I think that was a major, major factor in the offense doing absolutely nothing against Marshall.
Yeah, you should have seen the look on my face, by the way, when I found out that James Blackman was out for the game against the Cajuns. I was feeling really good about that Cajuns game. And then hearing at the last second that Blackman wasn't going to be in. So it seems like there's a lot of quarterbacks down. Blackman down, Centeio down. The quarterback for Marshall, whose name escapes me, Columbia? Yeah, Columbia.
Yeah.
He was down. So there's a lot of guys that are just dinged up. And to get back to JMU, I don't know if the Sun Belt has caught up to JMU. You make an intriguing point, Shane, about injuries. Injuries do cause a big problem. I'm seeing that right here in Jonesboro, so I understand that. I just think it's a matter of nobody can really sustain, not in this year's Sun Belt, nobody can sustain enough excellence to go undefeated in the Sun Belt. We saw that against Coastal. We're seeing it against JMU. We saw it against Appalachian State versus Texas State. We saw ULM crush the Cajuns. I mean, really, there is just really nobody's really safe in the Sun Belt. Speaking of safe tips, has Southern Miss stole Coastal Carolina's lightning bolt?
I think that they're the hot team right now. I mean, in addition to Troy, but I think that Southern Miss has definitely taken the rabbit's foot out of various crevices that the Chants had, and definitely are rolling with it right now. I don't know. I mean, they're playing good football right now. I don't know if it's something that they can really sustain. I would like to think that they could, so that we get another bowl eligible team. But for right now, we just got to kind of enjoy the show while we have it.
Yeah, I don't feel like they're even playing good football. I feel like there is just some sort of magic dust that Will Hall is puffing onto his players and producing these fourth quarter wins. It's actually been quite amazing. If you saw any of that Texas State Southern Miss game, you pretty much thought Texas State won that game. They had it in the bag. It was like 30 seconds left, and then it was over. It was crazy. So tell me, Shane, is Southern Miss the new Coastal Carolina?
Oh, that's a good one. Hard to say. I mean, when you're still not completely set at quarterback, I don't know if you can compare them to Coastal Carolina, apples to apples. But yeah, there does seem to be a little bit of magic there. Maybe it's just like, if you're going to have all that bad luck when it comes to injuries and everything else, maybe you got to have a little good luck to balance it out, like just with the way the game plays out. I don't know.
Well, I wouldn't mind some of that good luck hitting Arkansas State. That would be nice. I would really appreciate that. But before we talk about Arkansas State, man, Tibbs, I know you had the watch party going on. I know that you have some sense of dual loyalties in a way, with you being a military man playing ULM, playing Army. How was the party? Was it good?
No, it was bad.
Why? Because of the result or because of the hosting?
Yes, all of the above. But red zone offense. The Warhawks 2 weeks ago were flawless in the red zone. If you got inside the 20, they were walking away with points, and were actually, I want to say, out of their 11 attempts, 7 or 8 had been touchdowns. Since that time, I think they've connected on 2 field goals in the red zone.
Ooh.
And turnover on down 3 times in the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, you can't win that way, Tibbs.
You can't win that way. I thought the defense for ULM looked pretty good through the first 2.5 quarters. And after that, I think the fatigue of the constant 3-and-out offense just was too much against that physical, grinding Army offense that they ran away with it in the second half. Chandler Rogers looked pretty good at times. Boogie Knight found the end zone there early on. Good to see him getting back into the game and being a part of the game plan, having been MIA most of the season. But yeah, it was a tough game. It was a pretty defeating loss, and luckily they get a week off to kind of find themselves before they host Texas State for Military Appreciation Day, where the Warhawks break out the good old P40 uniforms.
Yeah. I kind of take some responsibility for that loss, Tibbs, because I saw that I think it was 17-14 at half, right?
It was.
ULM winning. I'm looking at that and going, okay, it looks like the Warhawks are doing a really good job here. I know it's a tough place to play at West Point. I snap on the game, and it was nothing but domination from Army. I watched the whole second half. I was like, I could not believe it was like tanks rolling into Baghdad. Just bam, bam. That running game from Army was just relentless and nonstop, and ULM didn't have an answer for it.
Thanks for reminding me there, Jeremy.
Oh, well, then I will shift the pain a little bit away from you.
Well, but before we dig the knife into your pain, we did miss one game on the Wednesday night.
Oh, yeah.
Blowout win for the Mountaineers late. But if I told you that going into the third quarter, the two teams combined for 69 passing yards, would you believe me?
Absolutely not. I would say you're fired from the podcast, Tibbs.
Unfortunately, my job is safe because at the 11-minute mark of the third quarter, the Panthers, a great passing attack offense, 38 yards of passing offense. Chase Bryce, 31 yards. Ugly.
Yeah, I have a little we call it Twitter direct message group. I call it the board of dark emotions, and we talk darkly about other teams and our team, and we really thought that was the end for the Mountaineers. We're like, what has happened to the Mountaineers? I think Georgia State jumped to a 14-0 lead in that game, right? It really looked like they were going to be the team that just wiped the floor with Appalachian State. And then Appalachian State, I believe, scored something crazy like 40-3 in the second half or something like that. Doing that thing that Appalachian State likes to do, put up points in the second half. So Appalachian State sort of cemented themselves as a powerhouse in the East. But, man, it looked ugly in the first. Shane, what did you think of that?
Everything you guys said, I was shocked by how ugly it was in the first half, and thinking that App State was completely broken at that point. Something had fallen apart there, and then checking a little bit later, and it's a blowout, which is about what you would have expected going in. But and I imagine hard to figure both of those things at this point.
Shane, I don't want to put any emotions or thoughts in your head, but you were probably thinking, yes, we won't have to worry about Appalachian State anymore. And then it came back that, well, all right, maybe Appalachian State isn't as broken as we thought they were.
Yeah, I mean, when you say not have to worry about them, when you're talking about, which teams are we going to focus on as we get down the stretch here? Who are the championship caliber teams? it's still like anybody in the East right now might end up winning it. And it's kind of crazy to think about.
Is Georgia State still in the discussion?
Okay. Maybe not everybody, but I don't know. Maybe they are. I mean,
I don't know.
Maybe they'll rip off 4 straight here. Who knows? It's
Georgia State may have a great game this coming up with this game. I can't remember right off the bat who they're playing, but they might re-cement themselves. I don't know. All right, but I will talk a little bit about Arkansas State versus the Cajuns. I'm just going to get this. I'm just going to get it over with. I'm going to rip off the Band-Aid. It was a horrible game, Tibbs. It was a horrible, horrible game. It was a bad mistake. It was a bad call. And I kind of wish that I'd never even turned on the game. It started off bad from the start. Cajuns kick off the ball. Arkansas State fumbles it at the 1. They end up on the 2. And it's like the team just never recovered. It was like the team saw that and said, hey, we can't win tonight. We're just going to phone it in. Blackman was out. Backup running back, Brian Snead was out. 3 of the top cornerbacks were out. Red Wolves really getting hit hard with injuries. That's not an excuse because like JMU, like any other team, teams have injuries. And you have to have a contingency plan for those injuries. You have to have the backups ready. You got to have the backup for the backups ready. That's part of football. Injuries is part of football. Arkansas State is obviously playing wounded, but they came to Lafayette on Saturday night and got their butts handed to them. Congratulations to Ben Woodridge, who threw 5 touchdowns, ended up becoming the FunBelt Offensive Player of the Week. Tibbs, I know you watched every second of that game. What did you think?
Woodridge is the man. I think that he had a phenomenal game. I was a little surprised that 5 touchdowns was the record for the Cajuns. He's now the single game touchdown. I figured that there was some kind of freak game back with Jake Delhomme where he had 7, against Middle of Nowhere University or something like that. But congrats to him. His name is etched in stone now for the Cajuns, and it was a straight up whooping for the Cajuns, kind of what we expected all season long, and it's kind of taken the second half of the year to finally get it to come to fruition.
Well, it was the right call. I mean, anytime that you're playing a 2-quarterback system, Tibbs, it really puts the team in disarray. It says, I don't know who leadership is. I don't know who to get behind. I don't know who to trust in thick and thin. Finally, with just settling on Ben Woodridge, who is playing better, who is playing the better ball of the 2 quarterbacks, you say, listen, you're the guy we trust. Here's the ball. Go make some plays. And that's exactly what Woodridge did. I don't know if the Cajuns have turned around. Shane, do you think the Cajuns have turned around, or have they just played 2 kind of sorry teams in a row with beating Marshall and then also beating Arkansas State?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if they've turned it around. I think, those games came at a good time for Louisiana. I mean, you look at Arkansas State. I mean, Jeremy, your guys, they were losing games, but they were you'd watch Arkansas State and you think like they didn't play that bad. But they lost. But they're getting it. And then does that like just start to weigh on them to a point where like they didn't play that great? And I'm rambling here, but what I'm trying to say is like,
well,
after 5 times in 6 weeks, we didn't play that bad, but we lost. Like after a while, can you keep bringing the energy?
No, I can speak from experience.
I think I think they had hoped that Blackman was going to be able to play. And then what we really discovered is without Blackman, they really don't have, like, their backup quarterbacks are AJ Mayer, who is a good running quarterback, but he's pretty one-dimensional. Didn't really have a great package for him set up. And then the true freshman, a guy named Jackson Daly, who has a lot of talent. He's a lefty. He's going to be the quarterback of the future for Arkansas State, but they kind of threw him in the fire. So it really was alarming to see just what the big difference was between the starting quarterback and then the guys behind him. I think what was disappointing too, it's in my opinion, that Arkansas State schedule has been pretty accommodating when it comes to offering teams that are struggling or not playing up to the capabilities they've had in the past. And Arkansas State just hasn't been able to capitalize on that. It's very hard to watch, but it's also part of the process, right, Tibbs? You know, you're rebuilding a team, and you just got to wait for the flowers to bear fruit, and hopefully that happens sooner than later.
Only there were a microwave or Instapot for team rebuilding.
You know, a lot of people kind of think of the transfer portal as the Instapot or microwave of team building. Butch Jones has said, "Hey, I want to build this team with high school recruits. We're going to, bring in all these freshmen and underclassmen." Red Wolves I think, the youngest team in the Sun Belt. I think they have about 70 underclassmen. That's great. But in today's college football, you can build a team quick by just adding a few transfers in there. They're very talented, couldn't find their way at the teams that they were on. You bring them in and you can build a team pretty quick.
I disagree, because we've had JUCOs for a while that have been essentially the transfer portal of old. But how many times have you seen JUCO players just not pan out because there was no kind of team atmosphere, so to say, with these new guys coming in, having dealt with a different philosophy at a junior college than what was different from their high school, different from what you're coming into this college. I don't know if I agree that you can get the talent through the portal. I don't know if you can necessarily build a team out of the portal.
Well, think about it in terms of what, how Appalachian State or even Todd Centeo, he's from Cincinnati? Is that right, Jay?
Colorado State.
Colorado State. Okay. Yeah. That's what we were talking about earlier in the season, about how we didn't know what these quarterback situations were going to be, because so many of those guys were either, first year starters or transfers. And a lot of these transfers have turned out to be really good players. They just couldn't fit in to what their last circumstance was, but they can fit in here. They found a role here. I kind of see what you're saying, Tibbs, that, you can bring in a bunch of mercenaries and you don't have the same team atmosphere. But I do think that you could plug in some really good skill players from the transfer portal and instantly see a difference.
If they get on campus in time.
Yeah, I think, you plug holes with the transfer portal, but you don't completely rebuild an entire unit. I mean, you could bring in 5 new offensive linemen and have never played a snap together. It's not going to be pretty, even if they're all extremely talented guys.
Good point. And hey, look at Texas State. That's their MO for the last 4 or 5 years, right, Tibbs? Bringing in transfers, bringing in JUCOs, not really recruiting the state of Texas. Everybody thought that was going to be the new way of building a team. Hasn't really worked out for Texas State, has it?
No, but they're close, and I think a lot of that is kind of to my point that they're just now really kind of gelling together as a team. Even this late in the season, is it too little, too late though?
Yeah. And how did Texas State lose that game to Southern Miss? Oh my God! They lost me $5. So that was last week, and last week I thought was some of the most entertaining Sun Belt football that we've seen in a long time. This week, I think Shane touched on it a little bit early. He was talking about how many people are having a bye. 5 teams on a bye this week. Can you name them?
Warhawks. Bobcats.
Yep.
JMU.
Yep.
Georgia Southern.
Yep. One more.
Oh, who am I missing? T-Roy.
Yes. Wow. Well done. You really are the master of the Sun Belt.
Does that come with a pay raise?
Yeah. You'll receive a little something extra in your paycheck this week. I advise you to look out for that. Yes, it is time to discuss Week 9 in FunBelt Podcast, Second and Short. Guys, are you ready? You're familiar with the format, right? We discuss each upcoming game for 2 minutes. One of you guys takes lead. The other one takes color. I choose who takes lead and then choose who takes color. Are you guys ready?
Sure.
No. I need a little more enthusiasm. Come on, guys. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Second and Short. I don't know. We need something for that. All right. Thursday, October 27th. We're back in midweek action. Last week's game, Troy versus South Alabama on a Thursday night. Great game. This game, this maybe doesn't seem like it has the same sort of, it certainly doesn't have a belt with it, but it has a lot of Sun Belt West implication. Louisiana at Southern Miss, 6:30, ESPN2. Tips. What are we going to see in that game?
I think this is the brewing rivalry in the West that is really coming to fruition. I like the Cajuns, though. I think the Cajuns have kind of found their stride. I think that win last week over the Red Wolves really helped them rebound, and the Cajuns of old will be back this week as they go to Hattiesburg.
Yeah, I kind of feel that same way. Maybe it's because they beat my favorite team, so I just assume they're just going to beat everybody else. Shane, the Golden Eagles are a 1-point favorite. We know that's because, it's being played in Hattiesburg. But is it going to be that close?
I don't know. I mean, if you'd asked me when the season started, if this game would be close, I would have said absolutely not. But yeah, I mean, just pull up the standings right now. These teams look identical almost, same record, same winning streak, same everything. But, I think, Southern Miss, they're playing at home, but I was a little surprised to see them favored, honestly.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I think Will Hall has done wonders in Hattiesburg and Southern Miss, and congratulations to him. I really do think, though, that I don't know if the Cajuns have turned the corner, but they seem like a team that has the firepower, especially now with Ben Woodridge kind of figuring it all out, to beat that Golden Eagles defense, which isn't bad, and definitely outpace that offense, which is terrible. I'm going to say run with the Golden Eagles. I think I'm sorry, run with the Cajuns. I think you guys are saying the same thing.
Yes.
I was waiting for it. Absolutely. But that's fine too. A weak, timid yes from Shane is exactly what we needed for that. Saturday, October 29th, that's when the bulk of the Sun Belt action occurs. The first game on the docket, Old Dominion at Georgia State, 2 p.m. on ESPN+. Guys, the Panthers are a 4-point favorite to win this. I throw it over to you, Shane. Does that sound even remotely right to you?
I don't know, because I definitely can't figure out Georgia State, but ODU's, a little bit perplexing too. I mean, you just look at their up and down nature of the season. They'll blow out Coastal one week and, play okay against Georgia Southern the next, but at home you would think they, have a good chance to win that. I really don't know what to think about either one of these teams right now. A little bit closer in geography to ODU right now. I kind of lean towards them, but I don't know if that's just because I see more of them in the media around here or not.
Tips, this is like, to me, two of the most mysterious teams in the Sun Belt in terms of how they perform. Is it going to come down to the quarterbacks? Is it going to come down to Darren Granger for the Panthers and Hayden Wolf of Old Dominion?
I think the Monarchs have a little bit more going on right now with Ollie Jennings, Hayden Wolf, Blake Watson. I like the Monarchs to rebound and get the win on the road. I just the Panthers still just haven't shown me enough for me to jump on that bandwagon again. I like the Monarchs.
The Monarchs do have something that like Troy had back in like 2017, 2018.
A live mascot.
No, a really stiff red zone defense, and I think that's going to make the difference. I think it's going to be the Monarchs between the 20s, not a great defense, but when it comes to the 20, very stiff defense. I feel like I just don't feel like Darren Granger and what they have offensively is enough to penetrate that. The Panthers are a 4-point favorite. I think we're saying go ahead and roll, though, with the Monarchs. I guess we'll see. Hey, here's something puzzling, guys. You want a puzzle?
Sure.
Yeah, you want a puzzle. Everybody likes a puzzle. Here's what's puzzling. What is Robert Morris doing playing at Appalachian State at 2:30 on ESPN Plus this Saturday? Haven't Appalachian State already played their FCS foe in the Citadel just a couple weeks ago? What is going on here?
And they had another one, too, if I'm not mistaken.
What? No, really? No way. I can't believe that. Shane, what's going on here?
I don't know. I mean, I guess they try to balance out the 2 Power 5 games with a couple of FCS ones. I don't know. And also, when you're as successful as App State has been at home over the years, it gets tougher to get people to come play you, and you want to have home games to sell tickets to and make money. But yeah, it is a little bit odd. I don't think they probably expected to be in a position where getting that 7th victory to be bowl eligible was in doubt at this point.
Yeah.
So probably wasn't exactly what the plan was when they put this second FCS game on the schedule.
Yeah. So Shane hinted at this, Tibbs. You need to confirm this. The bowl selectors, they only count 1 FCS win. Is that right?
Yeah, you get a waiver every so many years, so typically you're in good shape to have that 1 FCS game count. But yeah, they got to hit 7 to be 6.
Yeah. So wow. That Shane, you're absolutely right. I'm sure they weren't thinking when the schedule came out, oh, well, we'll have trouble making those wins. And maybe they won't. Maybe it won't matter. But it is kind of interesting to me. I don't think I've seen a Sunbelt program take on more than 1 FCS program in a while. I can't remember what the last one. Tibbs usually have a good mind for this. Can you recall the last Sunbelt program to take on 2 FCS programs in 1 year?
No, I don't remember off the top of my head.
Wow, because you usually remember everything. So I guess I assume Appalachian State beats Robert Morris, of whom I know nothing about. So let's move on to the next game. South Alabama, don't call them South Bama, at Arkansas State, 3 p.m. on ESPNU, which is nice. Tibbs, you know what? I'm going to divorce myself from all emotions on this. I'm going to confer to you. You could be the third-party arbitrator here. Tell me how this game's going to work out.
I really want to pick the Jaguars. I really like Carter Bradley. I like Jalen Wayne. I like the governor. I cannot pick the Jaguars again. I can't do it. I mean, this is the girl that you've asked to the dance. She said yes, but then the other guy asked her, so she's going with him. But then he dumped her, so she's back to you. I can't do it. I can't do the drama. Red Wolves.
Shane, obviously, Tibbs is too emotionally scarred to think clearly on this projection. So it comes down to you, Shane, with your dispassionate East Coast attitude. Tell us more about what's going to happen with South Alabama and Arkansas State.
I think the South Alabama offense rebounds, puts up more than 6 points, and wins. What? We're looking at a 10-point spread. I think they cover that.
Yeah, actually, the Jags right now enjoying a 12.5-point spread from Vegas. And first of all, a lot of that's going to depend on if Blackman comes back. Now, Blake. Oh my God, Coach Butch Jones has.
If you're going to go old coach, at least go back to like Lee Hollis or someone like that. Joe Hollis, excuse me.
I'll split the difference. Gus Malzone says no. Butch Jones says that James Blackman will be back. I have no reason to doubt that. Although old Butch Jones can be cagey when it comes to concealing injuries and stuff. we had no idea that James Blackman was not going to play last week. So I think a lot of the score will determine on that. I do think, I know that you've been hurt in the past, Tibbs. I know that you're emotionally drained. I do feel like the Jags, the Jugs, as I sometimes call them, I think they're just too well balanced offensively and defensively for Arkansas State to put up much of a game. 12.5 Jags. Yeah, that sounds about right to me, and I hate to admit it. Last game on the docket, guys, a short docket. You know what? It's short, it's brief but penetrating. It's a small sample size of the Sun Belt, and it's good that we can enjoy it, though. We don't have to pay attention to too many games. We can just focus on these. Coastal Carolina at Marshall, 6 p.m., NFL Network. Marshall coming up with that big win against James Madison. Coastal Carolina coming in from a bye, having been beaten by ODU, not just beaten, but thrashed by ODU, yet they still find themselves on top of the East. Shane, I want you to take first crack at this game.
I think Coastal will take care of it. I think, they've got that bye week. They've got the chance to fix some things. Marshall got a win that they needed, but they weren't particularly impressive on Saturday. It was, a situation where neither team looked very good. Outside of Claw Laborn, obviously, continuing to have a great year and had some big runs. But, Marshall's offense was not significantly better than JMU's, and JMU had a historically bad day. I think Coastal comes in and takes care of business.
You think Columbi comes back? Columbi?
Yeah, it's hard to tell. I mean, the word out of some of the Marshall people in the press box Saturday was that, they were going to go with Fancher kind of regardless for that one. And I don't know if it was liking what he could do against JMU's defensive line or just, I don't know exactly what the decision-making process was, but, I think even if Columbi is back, you probably see both quarterbacks.
So, Tibbs, the Herd are surprising to me, very surprising to me. A 2-point favorite over Coastal Carolina. I know that they're playing in Huntington, but does that sound right to you?
This is the weirdest line that I've seen in a while, where it's a 2.5-point spread. So it's basically a pick 'em with the home bump for Marshall. But then Coastal's killing the money line. So it's like you're supposed to bet that Coastal is going to eke out a 1 or 2 point win in this game. I think the Shants are back and refocused after their defeat, having the bye week. I think they're hungry. I think they come out and roll in this one.
You know what? I have to agree with that, Tibbs. And Shane essentially said the same thing. I looked at that line, Tibbs, and, I don't gamble because I'm an upright church-going citizen, right? But, man, I put some money on this because I was like, my 2 points for the Herd, that doesn't make sense to me at all, unless Vegas knows something we don't, which they often do. Who knows? Did McCall just give up football, perhaps? Did Jamie Chadwell join a convent? We don't know. There must be something going on. That being said, it looks to me like Coastal Carolina does rebound after that brutal loss to ODU and having time to have that bye week and reflect on that loss and figure some things out. I think Marshall's luck kind of runs out after their one game revival over JMU. And you know what that means, guys? That concludes Second and Short. It was another touchdown, gentlemen. We did it. We crossed the goal line. Congratulations, Tibbs. Way to go, Shane. We did it.
That's that great red zone offense.
That red zone offense that the Warhawks desperately need. We have it here in the FunBelt studio.
So, Jeremy, we talked about last week. We talked about this week. But tell me this. How pissed would you be if you showed up to the stadium?
Yeah.
You had your foam finger. You had your foamy beer.
Yeah.
You had your Monarchs cap on with your Marshall jersey on.
Yeah.
But the other team wasn't there.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
They just didn't show up?
Didn't make it.
Wow. I'd be pissed. I'd be sore. I'd be cross.
So our next guest, Director of Football Operations for Texas State, gives us the insight of what it takes to move the Cats from one side of the country to the other. So our next guest that joins us, Director of Football Operations, Haleigh Blocker. And when I say she is Bobcat through and through, went there as a student and just never left. And I think that's the dream that we all want, is that we just want to keep working at our alma mater and be in college forever. Welcome in, Haleigh.
Thank you. You said it perfectly. I love being here. It's a great place to be, and I'm lucky to still be here. I guess this is 7 years now in San Marcos, so can't beat it.
Yeah, I mean, I know I love San Marcos. I wish I would have known about Southwest Texas State in my collegiate days. Unfortunately, I went to Northeast Louisiana, graduated from ULM, so I'm now just an honorary Bobcat, I guess. But you really are Bobcat through and through. You know, doing the research for the interview there, I saw where your mom, your sister, I think everybody in your whole family has gone to be a Bobcat. Is that what really drew you in, or did you automatically just know that's where I want to be?
I think that was a big part of it, because growing up, I mean, there's a really cool picture I'll have to find, but it's us tailgating, and then I'm up in the student section or in the family section at the game. And I was probably 12 years old at the time, you know, so we grew up going to the tailgates and going to the football games. And so it was just always instilled in me, really. And so I never honestly really thought of going anywhere else. A big part of it was I'm super close to my family. And so my hometown's only probably an hour and a half from here. So my little sister was still going to be in high school. And so being able to go see her was important to me. But yeah, I mean, I'm so happy I stay here. But when I was in school, my freshman year, my sister was a senior. So we got to live together for a year, my older sister. And you can't beat any of that. And like you said, my mom went here. My aunt went here. I have multiple cousins that were all Strutters. My aunt's still very, very involved with the Strutters. And so it's just always been home for me in a way. But yeah, it's always been that place to go.
So now you get to have the job that everyone loves, but no one knows what they do, why they do it, or anything else. Because obviously, I think the biggest thing that people think of for DFO is getting the logistics ready for the team to be able to travel to App State or to Coastal Carolina. That's just a small part of your job. But talk about even that side, the side that we all know about, the logistics. What goes into getting the Bobcats from San Marcos to, say, even Atlanta to play Georgia State?
A lot. And I think that's the biggest key to this job is like your job is to make sure all they're worried about is football and that they get from A to B with no questions. And if there is a question, you're able to answer it. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot that when you say travel, that's a big umbrella, but it's like you said, charter flights, the seat manifest, the buses, the police escorts, the hotel, the rooming list, all the meals throughout the week and at the hotel, because we're a small staff, like we don't have a nutritionist. So it's me and the strength staff that do that. So you're feeding these guys 3-4 times a day. So dealing with all that media, right? So I handle everything for the head coach. So his media schedule throughout the week, but also at the game, post game, halftime, all of that. Meals post game, like there's so much that goes into it. And I've learned that my checklist is my best friend. And you have to stick to that because rookie year, like first year, you got to go through it and you get a little confident, you know, a few games in, and then you start thinking you don't need your checklist. And then when the rolls aren't on the table at dinner and the players notice it, it's a big deal. So yeah, it's just, I mean, like you said, it's a lot, but it's just being organized. And I think communication is the biggest thing that I'll always tell people. I'll call people multiple times a week and they probably get tired of me at some point, but I'm going to make sure that the food's there post game and then it's on time. So it's building relationships with people more importantly, because I think in that aspect of it, if you have a good relationship with the hotel, if you have a good relationship with the police escorts, with the bus drivers, they're going to want to take care of you. And that's what you want. So.
More important, the post-game meal or the coach's wife?
Ooh, for her? She's like my best friend. I was truly so thankful for her. She's kind of just there and helping me if I ever, she can tell, she knows me, she can read me like a book now. So if I ever have that look on my face, she's like, what can I help you with? Like, what do you need? So very, very lucky to have her. But yeah, we always go chicken post game. I know that's very like boring, but I feel like you change up the chicken spots, but you can't beat like the chicken strips, mac and cheese, mashed potatoes, a biscuit. Like you just can't beat it. And usually we try to get Bojangles because we don't have that around here. So anytime we can go get Bojangles on the East Coast, we're all about it.
Just so you know, they're coming soon to Monroe. So whenever you go to ULM,
will they have it by next weekend?
I don't think they'll be open just yet, but I know it's coming soon.
That is good to know. I'm going to have to write that down. I think ULM, we usually just have to go Raising Cane's or something.
Hey, we all love some Raising Cane's there. But so outside of the logistics, what's your role kind of in the off season of kind of taking care of the program, taking care of, in this case, Coach Spav or whoever the head coach is? Do you venture out to the other sports, or are you limited just to football?
No, I just do football, which is plenty for me. But like you said, handling the head coach's calendar. So obviously in the off season, he's doing a lot of speaking engagements, trips and things like that, but also his personal calendar and just making sure that's all aligned. I always laugh. I feel like I know his schedule better than mine half the time and what I'm doing. But is that it's more of like a admin role too, as well, like any paperwork with the coaches. So the coaches are recruiting. So handling all of their reimbursements when they get back or where they're going. It goes down to the little things of courtesy car paperwork because we just don't have a big staff here, which I look at as a good thing. We get to wear a lot of different hats in what we do, but it really, you're planning for the next year at that point, and again, making sure the guys are taken care of, helping with camps because we are small staff. So whatever Connor needs for that, just booking stuff for coaches and conferences that they're attending, food for the guys. Just always, you're always taking care of them, academics, whatever it is. But I feel like I'm always planning as soon as the season ends, like I'm already prepping for the next season. So
definitely the only female DFO in the Sunbelt Conference. Do you wear that as a crown or do you see that as an opportunity to try to get more women into sports?
Oh, definitely an opportunity. And I love all the DFOs that are in our conference, and they've helped me so much, especially Troy, who is at Louisiana. He's been awesome. Like, I'll call him for anything, and he's always there to help me. And since I first started, so I have to give him a special shout out. But I look at it as an opportunity, and like I told you before this, I try to do 1 or 2 calls a week, with anybody, not even just women, but anybody that's young and like motivated to get into this career, and just that it is possible, and I just explained to him that it's relationships, number one, making connections. But it's also about your work ethic, because a lot of people say they want to work and do these things in this career field, but until you're really in it and you understand how much goes into it, it's a little different, and it's not a job, it's a lifestyle, and it really is. And I think that that's why it's so important of who you work for and who you work with. And that's something that I'm very, very thankful here, and working for Coach Spavital and the staff around us, because just working for them, I've grown so much, and I truly just love work. I love my role, but I truly love more just working for Coach Spav and the staff around us, because it's just good people, and I think that's so important, and that people forget that sometimes in this role, because you are up here 7 days a week and you are missing out from your family and your friends, and this is your family, and so you have to have that relationship with them, which I think is really important.
So I think you've been in this role now for 3 years. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yep.
What's been the one time where you've been, I shouldn't have done that, or I forgot to do that?
Well, I guess there's a few. Coach Spavital will always give me a hard time for this one. But mind you, this was my first year. So I'm kind of excited now because I get to tell this story, because he always tells the story. But it was my first year. We were playing SMU, and President Bush was going to speak to the team, right? So I always go up there Thursday and do the stadium tour and all of that. And mind you, I'm super nervous and anxious, and like I have an itinerary set that we're going to stick to. And then I get up there on Thursday and they come to me and then say, hey, President Bush is going to speak to the team at this time before the game. Is that okay? And I know I should have just said yes, but in my head, I was like, well, I know your face. I was like, I'm just going to like, that really messes with our schedule. And then we're going to be thrown off, and then we're going to have to move everything else, and I've already got this approved and all. So I didn't say no. And that's where me and Coach Stav, our stories get mixed up. I had just said, let me check with the head coach. And they did look at me funny, and then I remember I called Coach Stav and he was like, please tell me you did not just tell the president no. And I was like, well, I didn't say no. And I could just tell in his voice. And I was like, okay, I'll call you right back. And I went running over there and was like, yes, of course you can speak to the team. So that was one that I might have messed up a little bit, but it was in good intentions.
That's an amazing power move.
I mean, yeah, but it wasn't really trying to be a power move. I was just really nervous about messing everything up for the team, So that's probably a pretty bad one. But I mean, there's always, there's things that come up, but it's more about, I've learned you can't panic, even though you're panicking in the inside, and like, you're the one that everybody looks to for an answer, right? So whether you have an answer or not, you need to figure out or make it look like you have an answer. I'll never forget, we went to Lafayette, and there's like on the way to the stadium, there's a separate parking lot you have to pull in for the dogs to walk the bus. And so everything, especially on game day, right? Like everything's down to a T on time. And some things are out of your control, but like at the end of the day, they look at you, and like we pull up to the parking lot and there's no dogs and there's no officers. And I'm like, oh, like crap, like this is not good. And so we sit there for a minute, and then everything starts to, you start sweating, and like people are just looking at you, and then the officers get there, but there's no dog. And so that was the one time that I like got out, and I'm literally telling the officer, like, look, I'm yelling at you, but I'm not yelling at you. And I start like throwing my hands up, like acting like I'm yelling, but I'm just having a conversation, because I'm like, I need them to know that I'm like actually mad and like trying to fix this issue, even though I know it's not your fault, but like I got to make it look like I'm trying to fix it. And thank God within like 2 minutes, the dogs rolled up. So those are things that I'm not really proud of, but you just have to kind of figure it out as you go.
Absolutely love it. So we had Don Coryell on last week, athletic director at Texas State. Great guy. Love the conversation with him. It seems like the big thing they're having is the celebrities that ride out on the Harley. When are you going to jump on there?
I'm actually offended I haven't been asked yet. I thought maybe last week was my chance, but Coach Chisholm ranks way above me. So I'm not going to say anything, but I'm hoping Arkansas State, I feel like that could be a good opportunity.
But could you fit it into the previous schedule? In that
stadium with me riding a motorcycle, I can tell you that.
Nobody's safe.
Nobody's safe at all. Nobody. And if they want me to follow the cheerleaders, that's going to be very, very, very bad.
Well, if that's the case, I'll definitely be there. And I think me and Kev would wind up recording it for the
y'all need to ride it. I'll throw y'all's names in the hat.
Yeah, I barely ride a tricycle, let alone something with two wheels.
Yeah, no, that's turned out pretty awesome. It's pretty cool to see the coaches come back and stuff like that. But it's good stuff. So
when you look around the league, obviously, I know you got to be keeping up with the football, the ins and outs of it. How do you see this league now that the dust has kind of settled from realignment, and we have the new members in, and the league is really the premier G5?
I think it's awesome. And like you said, I've seen it kind of grow since I've first been here, and just the competition of it. And the Sunbelt's treated like any other conference. I think it's awesome. And I think now that it's turned a lot of heads, and it's in a good way. It's not just looked down on anymore. Like I felt like it used to be, in just terms of the talent and the teams. And now that there's really, really good competition, and I go to other schools, and I love going up Thursdays and looking at their facilities, and just seeing, they compare to just about any other school, big school. And it's really cool to see that. And it's cool to see schools in our conference beating those bigger schools, Power 5 schools and things like that. So it makes me proud, because I've been in it for so long, and just watching it grow and watching how much we've improved on a professional level as well. And just Commissioner Gill and everything he's done. And just, you go to media day, right? And it's legit, like it's a big deal. And they do such a really good job with it.
What's next for you? I know that you are officially home as a Bobcat, but is there the ambition to go to an A&M, a Texas, even jump to the NFL?
No doubt. That's a question I've kind of been pondering on, and I think I need to probably ponder on it more, just in terms of figuring out exactly what that is that's next for me. I think obviously like NFL, going to that next level would be awesome. I got to go to the NFL Women's Forum, and that's kind of what really I feel like got my foot in the door as well before I got hired here, was at the Combine. And so I just got to meet a bunch of GMs and head coaches and things like that. And I have one of my mentors as well as Sophie, who is she does operations with the Rams. She's director of operations there. And so I talked to her and just kind of things that she does that I do, or things that are different. So I think that that's obviously a goal for me. And I think too, I mean, yes, bigger schools in a way, but like I told you earlier, like to me, it's about who I work for and with. And I love being here and sometimes being able to build a program. You know, there's a lot more that goes into that. And I take a lot of pride in that, and just kind of looking back on how much we've already done since we started and when Coach Spavital got here. And for me, I see it really deeply because I've been around Texas State for a long time, you know, and so just how much he's done and like what we've done and the optimism around this school now and how it didn't used to be there necessarily, you know. So I think there's a lot of aspects that go into it. But again, it's for me, it's who we work for, the respect, you know, and the things that I get to do, and the Coach Spavital gives me a lot of reign and lets me make the decisions, you know, and I think that that's really important. And that's a lot of credit to him, but I feel like I have that role here, you know. So that all goes into play with it, but yeah, definitely, NFL, maybe like front office work or something like that. But I'm always just about being where your feet are, you know, and just work hard where you're at, and doors will open when they're supposed to. And so that's kind of what I just stick to right now until I can actually figure out what exactly it is.
So you said the NFL Combine. I know that you've been around for recruiting events there at Texas State. Have you ran a 40, and what was your time?
Ooh, 40. You know, I used to be a track runner, but I did the quarters, so I wasn't too short of distance. I give myself like a 4.2, 3.
Wow. Blazing.
Okay, we're going to keep that one between us because I'll pull a hammy, but I'm going to give it my all. Realistically, 4.7.
Yeah. My best 40 time ever was a 4.75, but I was a consistent 5.1. And now I'd probably be around a 12.
Hey, I bet it'd be better than that.
All right, 11.9.
Okay, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
If I tried to, I would pull my hamstring so fast. It would be ugly.
It would be ugly for me as well.
I'm tempted every time. Every time we do stuff like that, I'm like, man, let me get out there.
My pregame ritual used to be when I was traveling all the time with ULM was I kicked a PAT at every stadium we went to.
Now that's a good idea.
So that was pretty good. I was probably around 75% of the makes.
You know, there's this like deal going on that like some people don't think I can catch a football out of the jugs. And like, I think I can do it, but I need your advice. I'm like slowly getting confidence to do it like after practice one day, but like, I don't want to completely embarrass myself, but I think I can do it.
So are we talking about a like quarterback pass to you or like a kickoff?
No, out of the machines.
Yeah, but you know they do receiver drills with it, but then they'll do kickoffs where they shoot.
No, we're talking like kickoff, like punt return. Yeah,
yeah, it's a lot tougher than you think. So don't say winner take all on this one. Be like best of 5.
Best of 5.
Best of 5.
Noted. I didn't think about that one. Noted. All right. We might have to do 3 just.
and don't let them record the first one.
Yeah. Practice round for sure.
For sure. Haleigh, we thank you so much for joining us on FunBelt Podcast. Looking forward, as always, to seeing the Bobcats getting there, knowing that behind the scenes, you were there to get them there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, there you go. Now you know kind of the inside secrets of what the world of DFO is like. I mean, Shane, would you have what it took to tell the president or a former president, you got to wait while I check with my people of before you talk to the team?
I don't have what it takes to tell you guys that. Like, the president or the president's people or whoever that involved. So,
see, I can see Jeremy doing it, no problem at all.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, shit, yeah. Here's the thing too. Is there a Secret Service detail still assigned to the president? Do you have to have this mammoth security? I mean, poor Haleigh having to arrange all that and put it together.
Well, I mean, he apparently was already in Dallas at the SMU game or around the stadium. So it's not like she had to arrange the appearance. She just had to arrange the time of, hey, I'm going to talk to your team at this time. So just interesting to hear all, like I said, all these behind the scenes stories. That's why I always love having our guests on.
George seems to me like a guy who would just walk in with a beer and just start chatting, just rapping with the players. Maybe he would have like a play like he would suggest to Spavital.
I thought you were implying that he had like a playlist that he had to walk into, not just Hell to the Chief. Like he had his own playlist.
Yeah, he probably has that too.
On that note, it is definitely time for plugs, promos, and parting shots. Shane, hit us.
I'll just plug, read the DNR online, read about, JMU, all the Sunbelt stuff. I don't have much else going on right now. Going to be football and basketball coming up. So if you're a sports fan, go ahead and check us out.
Oh, we love DNR. I mean, we're gung-ho for DNR. Am I right, Tibbs?
I'm not getting it tattooed on me, though. That's for damn sure.
I might. If I drink the second beer, I might do it.
Jeremy, what do you have?
I guess I have a parting shot. I was thinking about how, the Sun. Can we all agree that the Sun Belt is, if it's not the best Group of 5 conference, it's one of the best, right?
See.
Okay. We can say that not because we're citizens of the Sun Belt, but because we can objectively stand back and say this conference is comprised of some really good football teams. Am I right?
Amongst other things.
All right. So why is it that when the AP Top 25 comes out, the only team just receiving votes, not being in the top 25, just receiving votes, is the Troy Trojans? Why do you think that is?
Can we call it Southern bias since they always claim West Coast bias?
I don't know, baby. Here's what I think. Normally I like to rail against the AP Top 25, and that's never going to change. I hate the AP Top 25. They're like my enemies. But I think we're eating each other, guys. James Madison comes in, they're undefeated. You get beaten by a Georgia Southern team. That's pretty good. You got Appalachian State, the consensus team, the team that everybody thought was going to be the bell ringer. They get upset by Texas State. Marshall comes in, destroys Notre Dame. They just completely fall apart. But they're not falling apart. What's happening is they're playing other Sun Belt programs. And the Sun Belt is eating its own. And this is strength. This isn't weakness. But somehow our strength is becoming our weakness because not one team can rise above this din of destruction. So, yes, I think we're still the best Group of 5 conference. But weaker conferences are sort of benefiting from our strength. I don't know how you fix that. I don't know if the college football playoff committee will somehow penetrate that fog and kind of understand what's going on. But for right now, the Sun Belt, when it comes to rankings, is getting absolutely gypped.
Good story. My parting
That's
shot.
my op-ed.
Did you know that Old Dominion has an esports team?
No.
They compete in the Valorant Gaming League.
All right.
They recently had a bout against a team or a tournament against another team. The other team refused to kind of say, hey, guys, we'll reschedule. We know your star player's in the hospital with pancreatitis. We're playing today, damn it.
Wow.
So Nashil Shaw, the player for Valorant on this ODU e-games, gets his laptop in the ER, games, and dominates for a 2-0 win.
Wow. What a legend. That is the GOAT.
FunBelt beating everybody across the board.
Absolute magic right there.
So, for all of that, Dusty Thibodeau, Warhawk Report, Jeremy Harper of Hellraiser, Shane Metlin of the Daily News Record, and coming soon, Sunbelt Extra. If it ever launches.
Not soon
if
enough.
It ever launches,
yeah.
We'll be there.
Yeah.
And we will do it again next week for FunBelt Podcast.
If you're a facilities manager at a university, you know students rely on the cafeteria for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and the occasional late-night snack. So when a dishwasher breaks down and dirty plates pile up, the mess hall can turn messy in the blink of an eye. Enter Grainger. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast delivery, the product you need now is never far away. So you can turn that dishwasher back into a lean, clean washing machine. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.